Cubs fans at Stewart's Cubs cave parties. Everybody's in for giving back to those in need. We're going to Club 400. Club 400. We're going to Club 400. Club 400. We're going to Club 400 Radio, alright.
Club 400 Radio is on the air. How's everybody doing? William, what's going on?
I don't know. It's another big day, another big show. I'm ready.
Oh, yeah. I just want to remind you guys, too, if you're newly listening to Club 400 Radio, do not be afraid to check out our older episodes because we want to focus on timeless podcasts. So you can listen to any one of these at any point in time. None of them have to do with what is going on at the moment in time with the Cubs. We don't cover recaps. We don't cover trades. We don't cover any of that stuff. So go back and check out our episodes with a lot of great Cub fans.
And something that's new to the show, we're really trying to get people to interact with us now. So we've got a hotline that's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, I believe. And you can call 847-857-7323. Again, 847-857-7323. Leave us a message about if you have an idea for an upcoming show, if you have some feedback or comments on the shows that we have. We're doing a show coming up in a little while on memorabilia, so if you want to let us know some kind of Cubs piece of memorabilia that you have, we can talk to our expert about that.
Yep,
and maybe
Tom Warman.
Find out how much it's worth. You can also email us at club400podcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, so, hey, when you call in on the hotline, just so you know, we could clip it and use it on our show, all right? So we accept drunk phone calls after midnight, by the way. So, yeah, call our hotline. What she said is 847-857-7323, and let us know what you're thinking, all right? And we want to make this a little bit more interactive than what we have done with our listeners. And speaking of that, we got some giveaways we're going to be doing, right?
That's right.
So we're going to be doing T-shirts and some Club 400 Radio swag. But you have to
listen to the show.
That's the key. You have to listen because we're going to drop hints and stuff like that. We haven't figured out exactly how we're going to do it, but we are giving away 2 tickets to opening day.
Oh.
I mean, who doesn't want to go to beautiful Wrigley Field on opening day? I mean, it probably won't be beautiful outside, but baseball will be back in Chicago, and that's the beautiful part.
Can't wait. We need that with the weather we're having here.
Yeah, so today was really looking forward to doing this show because as Cub fans, or if you're not even a Cub fan, part of the fan experience is autographs. So today we're focusing on Chicago Cubs and autographs. And we have a guest today, a special guest who I've met numerous times. And part of my thinking by bringing David on today is that he is an expert grapher at Sloan Park. So if you're going down to Mesa this year with your family and you want to get autographs, this is the show to listen to today. So Club 400 Radio would like to introduce our good friend, David Truitt. David, how you doing?
I'm doing good, guys. How are you?
Oh, man, we're doing great. Now, you're in Arizona. We're freezing our ass off here in Chicago. What's the temperature out like down there?
Well, so we actually just finally hit quote-unquote winter here in Phoenix. It's probably 38 degrees outside right now, but it will hit about 60 degrees by later this afternoon. So we're freezing our ass off this morning, but the jackets get to come off in the afternoon, and you get to put the windows back down in the car.
Well, just to compare things, the other day we had minus 60 degrees, and then it
wind chill,
and then it went up to about 20 the next day, and we were all in shorts. So
yeah, it was 75 here in Phoenix those days. I had a buddy from right down the road there in the Quad Cities that had flown in, and when he flew back to the Quad Cities on Wednesday, being the worst day of that miserable weather, he landed and it was negative 38 degrees in Davenport, Iowa. So I don't miss those days at all, and I'm very happy to be here in Arizona now.
Well, part of the awesome thing about Club 400 is that we've met a lot of great people, and we met people that know what they're talking about, and you're one of them. But before we go into your graphing and stuff. Tell us a little bit about yourself, how you became a Cubs fan, and we'd like to hear your story.
Yeah, I mean, guys, I grew up right down the street from you, about 3 hours down Interstate 80 in Davenport, Iowa. So, growing up as a kid, obviously everybody has WGN, and when you live in the Midwest in that area, all of your smart people are Cubs fans, and then you got some ignorant people who tend to follow the Cardinals or the White Sox, or those are just people that didn't get good educations, in my opinion. But I grew up a big Cubs fan. I'm 30 years old, so obviously for me, Sammy Sosa was the man as a kid, and
all right, another
very,
Sammy
very
guy.
Very fondly remember, as a kid, the first big baseball moment I think that I can truly remember is the home run race with McGuire.
Summer of '98.
I'll never forget watching the game where the Cubs gave Sammy Sosa that purple prowler after he broke the 60 home run mark, and so that ever since then, man, I was hooked. And I started off at a young age, kind of going to my local minor league ballpark and getting autographs there, wanting to pick the brain of other athletes, and then it just kind of grew from there. And then I learned how to do it at Wrigley, and then I just kind of became an expert of it and moved to Arizona and kind of brought that here, where you really get baseball almost year round here.
Yeah, so you're I consider you an expert grapher. Is that the right terminology, a grapher, or what's the?
Yeah. I mean, some people, collector, grapher, just don't ever call, some of us. There are definitely these guys exist, but eBayers. I'm definitely far from an eBayer, even though I did recently decide to get rid of a big portion of my collection. But yeah, I mean, it's something that you do as a hobby. As a kid, I was the kid that was, hey, I'm going to go to the ballpark and I'm going to go try to meet, this ball player or that ball player, rather than the kids that were like, hey man, let's go drink after school, or, let's go smoke some pot. I mean, I always wanted to be around my favorite athletes and just follow the sports that I love.
And one thing I know about Dave's one of those guys that makes stuff happen. You go with Dave, right? And you're gonna somehow something crazy is gonna happen. And before we get into, I want you to tell the audience real quick about your recent graphing experience. It's outside of baseball, but I thought it was pretty cool. I saw it on Facebook about Rey Mysterio, WWE wrestler. Can you tell us that story? Because before we go on to baseball, that's the good story, I think.
Yeah,
you are an artist too. Also, I would like you to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so this entire experience was just beyond even my expectations. Like you said, Stu, I've always had an ability to really just make it happen. If I put my mind to it, it always works out. And I recently, I grew up a wrestling fan. My dad was the guy that was Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan and Dusty Rhodes and, and all those guys back in the 80s. So I grew up watching wrestling. I grew up during what they called the Monday Night War. So WCW on TNT, and then you got the WWF on the USA Network. And, I grew up as the kid that had that opportunity to flip back and forth between the channels. And you got to experience Stone Cold, but you got to experience the NWO. And for me, I really gravitated towards, what they call the luchadors. So, Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, Chris Jericho, the guys that were a little bit smaller, but they could do a lot of acrobatic aerial things. And for me, I always was gravitated towards Rey Mysterio as a kid just because he wore these really cool outfits with a lot of colors. He always had a mask on. And at 5, 6, 7 years old, when I really got into wrestling, to me, he was like a real life superhero. And, this is something that I followed for the last 20 years of my life. I've been a big wrestling fan and still watch it today. And we just had the Royal Rumble come to Phoenix here. And they did what they call WWE Fan Access. And you can go there, you can wait in line, get autographs, take pictures, see a lot of memorabilia. So just very similar to going to like an MLB All-Star Fan Fest. And from there, what I did was I purchased Rey Mysterio's VIP meet and greet. So it was $150. I did this because I wanted to get a really good picture with him wearing his mask. And at that point, I decided, hey, I just spent $150 on a photograph. What the hell was I thinking? And so you get the chance to get one item autographed, and I decided, you know what, if I'm going to go to this, it's got to be something epic. So it can't be the toy. It can't be an 8x10 photo. I mean, it's got to be something unique. So I decided to do this painting, and I did a 3 foot by 3 foot painting of Rey Mysterio. And
which is awesome, and we'll post it. It's by the way, that is awesome. That is so cool, man. I saw that, and that's just. I know, go ahead, but I mean, we're gonna post it on Club 400.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing with it too is if you look at that painting, it's got a portrait of Rey Mysterio on it. Now I do art and I do quite a bit of stuff, but I had never before done a painting that was that big. And the other aspect of it is I have never in my life tried to paint a portrait, and that thing came out better than I could have ever imagined. And as I was doing it, the way that I really kind of made traction with this, and guys, any fan that's out there, this goes a long way in the sports world in general, not just wrestling. I've gotten Anthony Rizzo's attention on social media. I've gotten the attention of other Cubs players on social media. If you're ever going to do some art or you're going to do something for the player, social media is your best friend. What I did was I started posting updated photos of the painting in different stages as I was going through it. And as I did that, it caught Rey Mysterio's attention. He started liking the photos. He started commenting on the photos. And that's when I realized, hey, I'm onto something here. So when I finished the product, I went to the fan access, and I'm literally walking around this place carrying a 3 foot by 3 foot painting. I'm getting stopped every 2 feet that I walk of people asking me to look at it or take pictures of it. And when Rey Mysterio comes walking into the building with security, he sees it, comes right over to me, it stops everybody, and with the whole crowd around us, looks at it and goes, man, that's badass, right? So that was the point when the light bulb went off. And when I went through the line and I got the chance to go up there and talk to Rey Mysterio, I went dead last so that I would have the opportunity to talk to him. And he basically let me know that he wanted the painting. So I had kind of said to him, and Stu, you talked about memorabilia. I talked about wanting one of his actual ring-worn masks. And so what he did was he had me come over to the hotel later that evening and drop off the painting packaged and ready to go. And he exchanged me one of his ring-worn masks and signed it for me, and then actually signed the other 3 foot by 3 foot painting I did, which I'll send you the photo of that one as well. So it was a crazy experience, man. It's really weird to go from looking at a guy that, you've really kind of, I guess, looked up to or idolized for 20 years. And now all of a sudden you're in his hotel room. He has your painting. And then a few days later, you see him post a picture of it in his house. I mean, that's pretty humbling.
Oh, I mean, I thought it was a great story, and I did want you to share it with us, man. It's congratulations on that, by the way.
Thank you.
So, yeah, we're going to focus now on Chicago Cubs autographs. So I brought you on for a couple different reasons because autographs. And what I first want to start out with is, obviously spring training is going to start here in a little bit. And for some graphers, it already has. Tell us about the best ways to graph at Sloan Park. If you're going to give anybody some strategies, Dave, what would it be?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing, guys, is you got to be very, very persistent. You got to put in the time. I mean, graphing at Sloan Park is not easy by any means because of the setup of the ballpark. And one thing, Stu, I'd actually like to talk about this. I know most Cubs fans, they go to spring training on a pretty regular basis. And, there used to be obviously Fitch Park over at Ho-Ho Camp. The way that the facility was set up over at Fitch Park, it was so easy. The players literally had to walk through you to get to the next field. There wasn't a lot of non-entry or non-access points to the players. But at Sloan, when they brought along Sloan, that really kind of changed the game of autographing the Cubs here in Arizona. The first year that Sloan Park was open, it was a little bit rough. It was trying to figure out, okay, what's the best way to get to players? A lot of the times, even today, and it gets progressively worse, instead of the players walking across the dirt path from the clubhouse over to the stadium, all of your big name players are going to get in golf carts and they shuttle them around so you don't have opportunities to get those guys. So you really have to learn the ins and outs. You have to have a strategy in place. But overall, you just got to be willing to really get there early and probably leave late. If you're willing to do that, you're going to hit on some big names. You're going to get an Anthony Rizzo here or there, but it's having the patience and really just being able to dedicate the time to doing it. You can always get the minor league guy walking across, but if you want anybody that's an active roster guy, you really got to know what you're doing.
I wanted you to talk about too. Obviously, spring. When we think of spring training, we think of games at Sloan Park. But let's talk about the area, the quad area. Now, like I said, some graphers are out there right now. Pitchers and catchers reporting. They have reported, and even though there's not games on, right? That quad area, let's talk about that, which is located behind the Under Armour Center. When I say quad area, it's basically 4 baseball fields. Now, that spot is a hot spot for autographs before the games actually start, correct?
Actually, not really. I mean, so the way that works back there is that setup is still similar to how Fitch Park was. The players still go from field to field. They walk through you, but they are instructed, do not sign at all. Just go to the next field. So, if you're smart, and for the Cubs fans that are out there, let me give you guys a little bit of a trick. Jake Arrieta, when Jake was with the Cubs, he was very, very hard autograph to get. And, it's one of those things where you got to realize who you're going for, what their personalities are, and really what are you going to get out of this experience. So, for example, the last, hit that I had at the quad was Jake and a few other players were rotating fields, and I knew Jake wasn't going to stop, but obviously a bunch of people were trying to get him to. So what I did was I walked up ahead of the crowd, and I got well in front of the group. And as Jake was coming up on me, I had my phone ready to go. I had my camera facing me, and I said, "Hey, Jake, can I just get a quick photo with you?" And he leaned in and he took a photo with me. You got to know your player. You got to know your circumstances. You'll never, on the quads, you'll never get a Baez. You'll never get John Lester. You'll never get a Rizzo. You might be able to get lucky and snag a quick photo with somebody, but the autographs back there, usually what they do, Stu, is they will typically walk off of the backfield straight to the clubhouse. So they never even get to a situation where you can get close and get them to sign. Every now and then you'll get a relief pitcher, or you'll get like a Javi Baez that'll come over and sign a few. But usually, even when it's the big name guys, put your kids up there. Typically your kids are going to be the ones to get them lured over. They're going to sign for the kids. Most of the adults, they won't, because one of the issues that you run into graphing in Arizona is the guys that live here, it's the same people every day in, day out. And these players know who the real fans are, and they know really who the dealers are and the resellers are.
So, yeah, I was going to ask you, I'm a little bit older than you, about 20 years older, let's say. And when I was a kid, people didn't sell autographs. So they would get them, but there wasn't even really a market back then to sell stuff. Do you find the players today are that has an impact on them? Like they're less likely to sign, knowing that a lot of the people, they can't tell if it's a fan or a dealer when there's, big long line of people and stuff like that. Do you think that has any impact on what you're doing today?
I think, yeah, definitely. Obviously the world of eBay has introduced a whole market. I've been doing this. I'm 30 years old, guys, and I've been collecting autographs since probably, I would say, like the age of 12 was when I really kind of got into it. Like full bore, was excited to do it. And even today, man, you go to games out here in Arizona, and guys, social media, Instagram, Facebook, eBay, there's OfferUp, there's Let Go. There's all these different avenues of where you can resell items. The sports world or sports memorabilia world did $6 billion last year in revenue. Think about that, $6 billion in just people's signatures, right? So everybody kind of is capitalist and wants to really capitalize on that network. So, it's not uncommon now to go to Sloan Park and see a group of 4 or 5 kids, 12 to 15 years old. Still in high school, not even old enough to get a job yet. And they're out there and they're hounding players to sign bats for them or sign jerseys for them. And I will literally hear a 14, 15-year-old kid get a Chris Bryant autograph, look at it, judge how crappy the autograph is in their opinion, and then say, "Oh, I'll just throw it on eBay or I'll just sell it." So yeah, it's definitely changed over the last few years in terms of what it used to be. you're starting to see far less collectors and a lot more dealers out there, which really makes it not fun for, the parent that's trying to take their kid or, it pushes the players away. I mean, I've seen players literally say, no way eBay, and refuse to sign something for somebody.
Yeah. The game has changed. And also the contract, a lot of these players now have contracts with companies like, for instance, Rizzo and Bryant and Baez and Hendricks all have an exclusive agreement with Fanatics. And then you got, other players such as Kyle Schwarber with smaller companies,
So explain it, Stu. Does that mean that they can only sign things that are permitted by Fanatics, or how does that work?
It just makes it more. Most of these players are like Rizzo, Dave. What's your opinions on Rizzo autograph? He's a hard autograph, correct?
Here's the reality of Rizzo, guys. When I was the first few years that I lived in Arizona, as Rizzo became a Cub, I used to, and Stu, excuse my language for this, but I used to really think he was a dick. Just a total dick. He's not fan friendly. He's extremely difficult to get to. A lot of times he won't acknowledge fans. But then, after kind of doing this for the last 5-6 years at Sloan, I had a really awesome experience with Anthony Rizzo, which I would like to share with you guys before we end the podcast.
No, please do, because I wanted you to share a couple really great experiences and a couple really bad experiences, because those are always fun stories.
Rizzo's a guy that, here's the thing, if you're the average Cubs fan, your kid loves Anthony Rizzo. I'm going to be honest with you. You'll never get him at Sloan Park, period. The guy does not sign before games. They're going to golf cart him around every day. The reality is you're never going to get him. Once those games start, I mean, he's a ghost. Now that he's gotten married and he just came back from his honeymoon, I've heard that he's been a little bit better so far this spring, but I have not been out graphing it all to verify this. But I mean, he's a guy that just very, very difficult. And I used to always have an opinion about him and think he was kind of a dick. And, it just wasn't the most fan friendly guy. But at the end of the day, you're a good ball player and you win his games. You don't got to be fan friendly, in my opinion. That's not what you're paid to do. But I did have an experience with him where I actually caught him one-on-one 3 times last spring training. And if you ever catch Anthony Rizzo and you want a good, nice autograph out of it, my opinion to any fan out there is going to be to always ask him to personalize the item, because he is very aware of resellers and what his autograph goes for. And if you ask him to personalize it, usually he'll give you a little bit of crap and ask you if you're sure and tell you, well, you can't sell it if it's personalized. So he likes to make a little bit of fun out of it. But I think at the same time, it gains his respect. And last year when I had gotten him 3 times, I'd asked him to personalize 3 different items to me the 3 times I caught him. And it was just one of those right place, right time situations of putting in the work of being around Sloan. And the last time I caught him was actually over at Tempe Diablo Stadium. So this was the Anaheim Angels spring training complex. Rizzo was leaving the facility and they parked their cars for the opposing team in the parking lot with all of the fans. And they just have a chain link fence in between like my car and the player's car. So Anthony Rizzo drives a very distinctive black Bentley, and my car was parked on the other side of the fence from him. And I had came out and I see Rizzo walk into his car. Well, he walked over to me and kind of joked with me a little bit, asking me if I was stalking him, which as an autograph collector, hey, yeah, a little bit of it is that, right? And, and
professional stalking.
He was like, oh, so you just happened to be right by my car. And I was like, Rizzo, my car is right here. I'm parked right here. And I chirped my vehicle so he knew. And he walked over and goes, hey, man, I'm just giving you some shit. And it kind of caught me by surprise because that's not a typical Rizzo response. And Rizzo then looks at me and goes, I saw your Instagram. And I went, what do you mean? And he goes, you're from Iowa, right? And I said, yeah. And he goes, Iowa Hawks fan 06 or whatever. And I said, yeah, that's me. And he goes, we're all good, man. I saw your Instagram. You're a real fan. I'll always take care of you. And he signed my baseball with the best autograph I've ever gotten out of an Anthony Rizzo in my entire life. Just absolutely beautiful. And he stood there, posted up on the fence, and talked to me for probably 10 minutes, asked to see pictures of my collection. And then from there, anytime that I saw him after that, Stu, he would literally go out of his way to walk over, shake my hand, say hello. Hey, how are you? Still wouldn't sign for the other fans, but that was really cool. I mean, it took me 5 years to build that relationship with him, but it just kind of makes you realize that, he's fan friendly, but he's got to trust you.
Right, exactly. There's so many people out there trying to take, advantage of these guys, and they know that. But
right,
yeah. So I wanted to ask you, because most of our listeners who are going to spring training are going there for games. So, what are your game day tips for autographs at Sloan?
Game day tips for autographs at Sloan are basically this, guys. You want to get there around 8, 9 o'clock in the morning if you're looking to do some autographs. I know it's early. Right, Club 400 is going to be there for a week. It gives you plenty of time to drink and tailgate and have a good time. But it also gives your kids plenty of time to be able to try to get some autographs. There's a couple really good ways to do it once games actually start. So usually around 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning, the players will start doing batting practice on field 1, which all fans do have access to. Again, a lot of your big names, your Chris Bryant, your Rizzo, even a Jason Hayward, like those guys aren't going to sign autographs over there, but Kyle Schwarber signs autographs quite a bit. Wilson Contreras will sign autographs quite a bit. Ryan Sandberg is always around. Rhino is a great guy. I know you guys have had different interactions with him. He will always sign. So you can definitely get some good stuff over there, right?
On field 1. And field 1 is located, that's the field that's loaded between Under Armour Center and the stadium, right?
Correct. So that's going to be the only field that they're going to give you access to in between where like the stretching fields and the Under Armour Performance Center / clubhouse are. And then that would be in conjunction to the dirt path that goes over to Sloan. So, you could do all right there. It's a good opportunity for your kids to snag a ball. I mean, players will throw balls to kids, things like that. If you're a guy that you want to feel like the ball hawks outside of Wrigley, you can go on the back side of the fence and you can shag balls back there. And it's really cool when the Cubs have commemorative baseballs like the 100th anniversary of Wrigley or those different things. You can sometimes you'll get lucky and get a playoff baseball or, it's really cool to see the type of ball that you could wind up with. And then from there, guys, around games typically are, 1 o'clock, around 12:30, players will start walking across the dirt path. So some of your top minor league prospects, like a David Bodie last year, or even Charcer Burks, some of these guys that are rising through the system, this is your opportunity to get a lot of those guys. You'll see a Randy Hundley occasionally. You'll get a Ryan Sandberg every day. You'll get some of the coaches, maybe a Henry Blanco, depending on who's on the staff at that time. But that's really the plan of attack. If you want to go for your Chris Bryant, your Jason Hayward, any of the guys on the 26-man roster, really what you need to do is you need to be in line early behind the home field gate at Sloan Park. And when those gates open, guys, you literally have to run. And I don't say this jokingly. You have to run to the third base side of the field, and you want to make sure that you're in between the dugout. I would say from the very corner of the dugout, about 3 sections down is the farthest that I would go. And you got to be in that front row. If you're in that front row and you are from the corner of the dugout, I would say no further than 25 to 30 people down, you are almost guaranteed to get a Chris Bryant autograph. Chris usually signs the same exact spot every game. And then with your other players, they'll just kind of fill in randomly here and there down the wall. Your Kyle Schwarber will usually sign closer to the dugout corner. But, you got to be down there. You got to be in the front row. If you're in the second, the third, the fourth row, you have 0 chance. So like I said, it all goes back to putting in the time, being patient. But if you're willing to do that, I mean, you're going to hit some home runs on your trip.
I keep hearing the word patience, and I think that's the key. I mean, to be a grapher, you need to be patient, correct? I mean, you have to wait it out.
Yeah, I mean, guys, there's times that I've put in 8-9 hour days to try to get one autograph. And some days it pays off, right? You're there to meet one specific player. You get that player. It's amazing. It's the best feeling in the world. But then there's also those days, guys, where you put in 8-9 hours and you walk home with nothing and you feel miserable because you go, man, I just wasted a whole day. So yeah, there's a lot of patience in this game.
So yeah, tell us. You told us that Rizzle store earlier, but tell us from your experience at graphing Cub players, one of your best experiences and one of your worst experiences.
Well, we'll go ahead and start with the worst one first. Let's just go ahead and get that out of the way. This is the current Cub. He has got to be just the biggest asshole on this team. And, excuse me for the language if anybody's got children that are listening out there, but this is the most unfan-friendly player that I've ever met in the Cubs uniform. He doesn't give us a lot of production on the field, which makes me, as a fan go, man, let's just get rid of this bum and trade him while we can get something out of him even more. And that is good old Mr. Ian Happ. Ian Happ is the most non-fan-friendly guy I have ever met in my entire life, and I can hear some chuckles back there.
So it's not just a pretty face.
I feel like some of the Club 400 people have probably seen this as well. I know Tom Warman, who you mentioned earlier, has got some stories about Ian Happ that he can share that are pretty funny. But, I mean, I had an experience with the guy last year, and, I've never once in my life, Stu, not one time, physically seen this man smile, ever. He always looks pissed off at the world. He always looks miserable. We call him Mr. No Personality, Ian Happ, here in Arizona. And last year, I had bought a bat of his, a game-used bat. He did a private signing with a local memorabilia company, so I paid my $150 to get my bat signed. And I also had his Memorial Day camouflage jersey. I bought that actually from Tom Warman, who you were talking about earlier. It was MLB authenticated. And I sent both of these items in. Ian signed the jersey, put Memorial Day 2017 inscription on it, but refused to sign the bat and said it wasn't his bat, even though it was game used, it was MLB authenticated, and it's the exact same damn bat that he used all last season.
That's crazy.
So I got the bat back unsigned from a paid autograph signing. So even getting paid for it, he wouldn't do it. Then last year, during spring training, I was there. Stu, you saw me. You saw the work that I put in. I was there almost every day last year because my job allowed me to have that flexibility. I was the only person all of spring training that I saw that had an Ian Happ jersey, period. There was not another fan or another autographer trying to get him to sign a jersey. I tried 8-9 games in a row, and I'm in the front row at Sloan one day on the third base side, like we talked about just a little bit ago. Ian is signing autographs, and he keeps skipping over me. And I said, Ian, will you please personalize the jersey to me? It's for my own collection. And he looks at me with the most straight-faced, dickhead look on his face and says, let the kids get it, bro. And I couldn't believe it.
Right.
I said, are you kidding me? Nobody else has an Ian Happ jersey here. I got so frustrated with the experience, guys, that I literally found a kid in the outfield later that day. Him and his mom were hanging out. And I said, hey, man, do you like Ian Happ? And he said, yeah. And I gave the damn jersey away because I realized that Ian was never going to sign it for me. Wow. I mean, the guy is he's just a piece of work, man.
He sounds like the guy who'd sign the threads of a baseball.
Oh, man. Yeah, he's terrible. He's just non-fan friendly at all.
Wow.
If I could see the guy smile one time, I'll probably go buy a lottery ticket that day.
Mr. Happy.
Now, the best experience, this is going to be last year too, guys. I mean, last year was crazy. I talked about the Rizzo thing with you, and that was cool, but that was not as cool as this situation. So everybody remembers Wilson Contreras' infamous moment of talking about what he said to John Lester when John Lester finally picked somebody off at CubsCon last year, correct?
Correct.
So
what was that? What was that comment? It was it? Well, I forgot what it was.
Throw it to first, motherfucker.
Yes,
was,
exactly.
Exactly. And he told this story at the kids panel, by the way. So that was made it even
Dude, that was
funnier.
like the biggest news from the convention is the MF bomb that Contreras threw out.
Oh, it was so funny. So I immediately, guys, I found a photo of John Lester with the glove over his mouth and Wilson Contreras standing in front of him on the pitcher's mound with his mask up, talking to him. and I put that photo on the front of a T-shirt, and I put the quote that Wilson Contreras shared on the front of the T-shirt as well, and then I put Contreras 40 on the back of it. And when I made it, Wilson saw it and immediately direct messaged me on Instagram and told me he wanted copies of these shirts. So I brought him copies of the shirts. He signed my game-worn jersey for me. He signed a World Series replica jersey that I had for me, took a photo. It was great. From then on, he was really our buddy. I mean, he would message me all the time on Instagram, back and forth last spring training. He met with my girlfriend and I at the time privately to take a photo with her and sign her jersey. And then it was just great. Every time we would see him at a game, he would be coming out of the game, jogging down the third baseline or the first baseline, depending on the stadium. We'd yell his name. He'd stop on a dime, come over, give us a hug, say hello. I mean, it was just a fantastic experience.
Is there anything that you would advise people not to do? Like when they approach people, like approach somebody out who's out eating dinner or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, if you see them out in public, really just kind of leave them alone until they're at least done. I mean, never walk up to a player that's eating. If he's with his family, you got to understand there's a right place and a right time. If let's say you run into Rizzo at the mall, right? A lot of these guys, they'll go to Fashion Square Mall in Scottsdale. I hear stories all the time of, guys, autographers hanging out at the mall and literally following around like a Jorge Soler, not even like an A-list, type ball player, following them around the mall while they're trying to shop or hang out with their family or really just be a normal person. Leave them alone. If they're at dinner, leave them alone. There are times that if you run into an Anthony Rizzo and you want to wait for him to get done eating and say, hey, Riz, can I get a picture with you real quick? Or can my kid get a picture? He's probably going to be accommodating to that. But if you approach them while they're at dinner, while they're trying to shop, while they're with their family, I mean, guys, a lot of these players will remember faces. And when they see you at the ballpark the next day, well, you probably just shot yourself in the foot. So, I would say outside of the ballpark, definitely probably give these guys a little bit of respect. They're normal people like you and I. They just got cooler jobs. That's the reality of the situation.
Exactly. You're 100% right about that. People just like everybody else. I wanted to point out a couple, where I became successful at some autographs was, and so if you go to Sloan Park, you'll notice there's two major parking lots. There's the public one, and then on the other side, between this Under Armour and Sloan, there's a big parking lot there. Those are for the season ticket holders. And that's where that field A is that we were talking about earlier, and that's where the path is from the locker room to the stadium. Like you said, back before 2016, a lot of the players would walk the path. Now they're all taking golf carts, and they're just winging right past you. But there is an entrance to a lot of players are going to taking the golf carts out in the left field. There's an entrance they can get in over there. But some of the players enter through a door located right by the main gate. And that's a good place to line up before the games, like maybe an hour before the games. You can probably get some good autographs there. But another key point, Dave, as I wanted to point out too, is obviously these are spring training games. And the regulars only play 4 to 5 innings, but there is a setback to this one. If you go, a lot of these players, after they're done playing, are out of there. They're not sitting around watching the rest of the game. They're headed back to the locker room to do the rest of the work they got to do that particular day. So if you don't mind missing the game and you're all about autographs, if you're out there in about the 4th, 5th inning, these players are going to walk right out that door and head back because they know most of the fans are obviously inside the ballpark, but it's a great spot to get autographs. Have you ever done that before, Dave?
I used to. You used to get your Addison Russell and your Schwarber and those guys that would walk out the side door right there by the home plate gate that you're talking about, Stu. But that has changed over the last year and a half. Now what is happening is all of your 26-man roster, all of your starting players, they're no longer coming out that gate anymore or going up under the tunnel, up the stairs and coming out that side gate. Now what they're doing is they're all exiting down the third baseline. There's the bridge that goes over to where the berm area is. They have golf carts underneath there now. And what they do is all your starters will walk down. They'll get on the golf carts, and the security will actually shuttle them all the way around to avoid all fan interaction. that spot right there behind the home plate gate that you're talking about, the door, the fans, you guys will see gates set up right there. It used to be a really, really good spot. The only thing that you really get out of it now is if let's say Ben Zobrist, for example, if he's not playing that day, he'll usually still come into the game. He'll watch 3, 4, 5 innings, and then he will typically come out that door and sign when he comes out. But for the most part, pretty much everybody else goes up the third base side now. It's a good spot to get some of the minor league guys when the game is over, or some of the coaching staff, with the exception of a Joe Madden. But, it's definitely changed over the last couple of years. Things are getting progressively harder around Sloan.
David Truitt, a professional grapher. One thing I like about David, and that's why I had him on, is he never did it to resell. He did it he's a grapher for his own personal collection. He's a Cub fan like everybody else whose hobby is graphing. But you're right, Dave. Things have changed since 2016, since the Cubs won the World Series. Autographs are a lot harder to get from these players. It's a fact, and it's actually post 16. I mean, I remember when I used to go to the Chicago Cubs charity events, which they have about 4 or 5 a year. I mean, you just put a bunch of baseballs in your pocket and go to town. Now, every Cubs charity event, when you buy that ticket, they say no autographs. And if they see you with the baseballs, they'll take them away from you. So the game has definitely changed. The Cubs have changed the game, and they made it a little less fun, I'll be honest with you.
Well, they probably had to, based on the numbers David was giving us at the beginning with the $6 billion worth of autograph sales. I mean, it's gotten more and more and more and more and more progressively popular. And so these people, instead of having 10 kids standing there looking for an autograph, it's hundreds, and it never stops. We were at the convention this year, and David DeJesus was walking out, and he went to sign a couple guys' autographs in the lobby lurkers. Oh, yeah. And all of a sudden there was a line, and it just never ended. And he was just too nice, and he kept doing it, but
He is a nice guy. I've met him a couple times. But like Dave referenced, that it's much easier to sell as well these days. So I think synonymously with the World Series and the technological revolution that's kind of happened with, the new Facebook market, you could just sell something without even thinking about it, and you can see who's looking at it. I sold my car through Facebook. It's become so easy to sell stuff. Yeah,
man. I kind of think like the new, and it's well out there, but the new autograph is the selfie. I mean, the pictures are awesome, and I like getting pictures personally. And that's basically the evolution of the cell phone. I mean, everybody's got a cell phone now. They all have beautiful, cameras on there, and the cell phone, the selfie I think is in my opinion better than an autograph.
It's very interesting to talk about and deal with older players that when signing autographs was a totally different kind of thing to them. About 5 years ago, I was out to dinner, and at the table next to us, I'm looking across the way, and I'm like, God, this guy looks so familiar. It was Stan Musial, not a Cub. And I'm kind of looking, but I couldn't figure it out right away. And all of a sudden, his wife waves me over while they're eating. So I go over there. She goes, sit down. And she goes, do you want his autograph? And I'm like, I figured out who it was by then. And I said, no, I just like to shake his hand or whatever. And she's like, goes in her purse. She's carrying a wad of baseball cards. She gave me a card. He signed it, shook my hand, took a selfie. It was like awesome.
Stan's the man.
Stan the man.
Wow.
Yes.
Not a Cub.
So yeah, Dave, I was coming down here today. Well, Carol Haddon, who we had on episode 1, was liquidating her Cubs memorabilia collection. I went over there and I bought some stuff off of her. And a lot of her stuff is obviously older stuff from the 80s, 70s. And I bought some team signed balls. But what I recognized on those balls is almost every one of those signatures were readable. Like you could actually read the name. Now, let's have a little bit of fun here, Dave. You know everybody's autograph, what they look like. Let's go around the horn real quick and judge a few autographs. In your opinion, right? This is my opinion. Who has the worst autograph on the Cubs?
Oh, the worst autograph on the Cubs. Wow. That's a loaded question, Stu. That's a really loaded question. Depending on, I'll say this. Rizzo can have, and I know you've got a lot of Rizzo autographs in your collection. I know he's been to Club 400. You've seen his regular signature. If you get that, it's great. If you catch Rizzo and he is not in the mood, I have literally seen him scribble a couple circles on somebody's baseball before. Literally circles. So he is a front runner. I would say probably the worst signature on the active roster. And I love the guy, but honestly, it's got to be Willie.
I agree. And that's where I was going, Dave. The worst autograph is Wilson Contreras, because I know Dave pretty good, and I was hoping that he would say Wilson because it's just like 3 or 4 circles.
But he just learned English, so.
But didn't he have an older autograph that was way better? He like dumbed it down a little bit.
He used to have one that just had a little bit more to it. I've seen some very early variations of his signature. Now, here's what you guys got to understand, too. A lot of the Dominican players, when they come to the United States, they weren't taught cursive writing and different things. A lot of Dominican players will actually just print their name out. So they will literally write out every letter, Wilson Contreras, and just spell it out like you're teaching your kid how to print their name for the first time. So I know I've seen signatures of his where they are full signature. He does have very nice penmanship. But usually if you want something like that, you got to specifically ask for it. But the signature that he gives on an everyday basis is basically a W looped into a C, and then it's got the number 40 on it.
Yeah,
that helps.
There's a clip we're going to play at the end of the show here that the Cubs did last year on autographs. We're going to play that for you at the end. But let's talk about Chris Bryant's autograph, probably the most sought after autograph on the team. As you know, tell us a little bit about his Fanatics autograph and his personal when you catch him at the ballpark autograph. They're different, right, Dave?
It depends, guys. Chris has kind of gone up and down a little bit. When Chris first got drafted by the Cubs, he was assigned. He played, a little bit in the minor leagues, which obviously everybody's aware of. He came out to the Arizona Fall League, and at the Arizona Fall League, oh my God, guys, he was tremendous. He would sign every single day, and he would make sure that he got everybody, just the nicest guy. And Chris is genuinely just a nice guy, period. He's gotten a little bit stricter about where he signs and when he signs. Now he kind of limits it to more of the ballpark now that he's married. If you get him out and about, he'll say hi, he'll shake your hand, he'll take a selfie with you, but he's not going to sign outside of the ballpark, inside the park. And I think that a lot of that might be to do with this Fanatics deal as well. But, he's a very accommodating guy. And his autograph has always been KBYT and then usually his number, right? Depending on the situation of which you catch him, if there's a lot of people and he's in a hurry, you might get KB. You might get KB and a smiley face if he knows he's gotten you before. That's one of Chris's little tricks that a lot of people aren't aware of.
Yeah, what is with that? What is with the smiley face thing?
So the smiley face thing, and I personally, I've caught Chris one-on-one before, and I asked him about this, and he has flat out told me this to my face. So this is a real story, guys. This is breaking news for the autographers out there.
All right.
If Chris Bryant gives you a smiley face, that's because Chris Bryant recognizes you. He knows he's got you before. Chris is never going to be the guy to tell you no unless he thinks you are a autograph dealer. But if he knows you're a fan and he's got you before, you will get KB. Sometimes you'll get the KBYT, the full autograph, but he will put a smiley face on it. And that's just his way of letting you know that he knows who you are.
See, Dave's teaching me stuff today. You're teaching me stuff today. I never knew that. And you see a lot of smiley faces out there in the market.
Yep. So that's what that is. I mean, that's people that have gotten Chris multiple times. Last year he signed, for the most part, you got a full graph. Now, understand, when you go to Sloan Park, it's a madhouse, guys. And for the fans out there, if you put your little kids up in the front and you want them to get a Chris Bryant, be a smart parent. Stand behind your child. Do not let people get in between your kid and that wall, because when Chris Bryant comes over and signs, your kids will get crushed if you are not standing behind them. That is a very realistic reality of this hobby. People go absolutely nuts when Chris Bryant or Rizzo start to sign autographs, especially with the recent success of the Cubs. But at Sloan, with the Chris, If you got a really nice item, Stu, you might get the full nice KBYT like you would get from a sit-down Fanatics autograph signing. Other times you might get a KBT. It's usually a little bit more of a rushed autograph, but for the most part, Chris does stay pretty consistent and try to give you a decent autograph out of it. There's not too much to do with really contract disputes or, Fanatics telling him don't sign things, anything like that. I mean, he's pretty accommodating.
Best autograph on the Cubs. Are you going to go there, Will?
Yeah, best all-time and best current.
Yeah, let's
Cub.
go best all-time. We can go back to, to the older players and best current Cub.
Oh, I mean, best all-time guys, without a doubt, is the Hawk.
Yeah! Dave, you're speaking my language today, dude.
Andre Dawson has just every single letter. Now, I do want to interject with this, though. And if you guys ever get Andre on the podcast, if he's ever at Club 400, I need you to ask.
He's been here. He's been here, but he'll be back. We're going to get him back.
Next time you get him back, Stu, you got to ask him the question. How the hell does that first name say Andre? Because I swear to God, every time I look at it, it says Clyde Dawson.
You're exactly right. It looks like there's I don't know what the third letter there, but it looks like a J or something,
Yeah.
But when we had Andre Dawson out here, the autograph signing took so long because first of all, he turns the item a different way to sign it. Like he doesn't sign it like straight, like most players do across. He turns the item.
He signs it like an angle.
Yeah, he signs it at an angle, and he takes his time. So the autograph line took forever when Dawson was here, but everybody gets a quality, awesome autograph from Dawson.
Especially if you get him to put like the Hawk on it. I mean, honestly, in the baseball world, I don't know if anybody in the last 15 years, with the exception of, maybe a guy like a Derek Jeter has a really cool autograph. Not a lot of players, just their autographs look like that. And I know somebody in the background was talking about Stan Musial. Stan Musial is another guy that every letter perfect. Mickey Mantle, Frank Robinson, who just
Ron Santo. Ron Santo's perfect autograph right there.
You want to talk about, and I want to jump off topic because you mentioned Ron Santo here. I met Ron Santo Jr. at the Cubs fantasy camp 2 years ago, Stu. Not only seeing him in a Cubs uniform with the number 10 on his back, not only does he look like his dad right out of a 1970s baseball card, I mean, just pure spitting image twin of his father. But I asked him to sign a baseball to put next to his dad. His autograph is even the exact same to the T. Every penmanship stroke is the same as his father's. The only difference is he puts a junior on it.
Wow.
If you put the two baseballs next to each other and you ask somebody to tell you which one was Ron Santo and which one was Ron Santo Jr., if the ball from Junior does not have Junior on it, I promise you will not be able to tell the difference.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never seen his autograph, but maybe I'll have to have Ronnie Jr. come here and sign the wall since we missed Ronnie signing the wall. That'd be cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Best autograph on the Cubs now. Ooh. There's not a lot of guys that really have that full signature anymore. The ones that I would say really probably look the best, and I'm trying to go around the roster in my head and just think, the closest thing to a full signature that you really get is probably a Kyle Hendricks, guys. Kyle's got a really nice graph. Kyle is a very, very accommodating, fan-friendly guy, too. If you ask him, for the fans out there, if you ask him to put the professor, if you ask him to put 2016 ERA leader, anything like that on the ball, he'll typically do it. But he's got a really nice autograph. Joe Madden, I would say, if we're talking coaches included in this, Joe probably has the best autograph on the entire roster currently. John Lester's got a nice, pretty loopy one, but good luck ever getting that as a fan. And then I would say probably, if Schwarber is not in a rush, Kyle Schwarber's got an okay autograph. I mean, you kind of get a little bit more from him than what you do from other players. And then Jason Hayward. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go with Jason Hayward on this one because last year, spring training, Jason Hayward was signing every letter, full signature Jason Hayward autographs, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and on that video we're going to end the show off with, Jason Hayward specifically talks about why his autograph is so readable. not because we're having him out here, but I think I like Ben Zobrist's autographed also. I mean, I think I just like the way it looks, Yeah,
it's definitely unique looking.
I got one more old time player story, not Cub, sorry, but I used to know Harmon Killebrew pretty well, and he's just
what a great signature.
Absolutely beautiful signature. And I asked him why he takes so much time and does that. And this is how much everything has changed. He said, because back then kids used to get the autograph ball and they would play baseball with it. And he said he was thinking one day if somebody lost the ball and then years later they found it, he wanted them to know who it was. That was his reasoning.
I mean, if I
Can you
were,
imagine that?
if I was
That sounds like that was the start of the Sandlot, guys.
Yeah, exactly. It probably was.
I mean, as a kid, I think we all practiced our autograph, hoping that we'd be a major leaguer. And, I really appreciate the guys who have a great autograph because I think it represents them a little bit in some ways. But yeah, like I was looking at my 84, even my 84 ball, a team signed 84 ball, which I just picked up not long ago. A beautiful baseball. Every guy on that team, you didn't have to say, who is that guy? Who is that guy? Who is that guy? And nowadays, let's face it, autographs are a big business now. Baseball is a big business now. It's not like it used to be, and that's where we're at right now. But yeah, Dave. Well, thanks a lot for coming on today. I think we covered anything else. I think we covered everything I wanted to cover.
I do want to pick at you a little bit, though, Stu, because you talk about practicing your autograph. I do have a Club 400 logo baseball that I made last spring training, and I had Stu sign it for me. I will tell you, you would not fall into that category of one of the best autographs from a visual standpoint.
Well, he typically only signs 8x10 photos. He doesn't do
baseballs. He gave me a quick, sig, rushed autograph, like, yeah, piss off, kid.
Oh, no. Actually, Dave did this awesome Club 400 logo on a ball. It was awesome.
Dave, the thing with Stu's autograph is it has nothing to do with how rushed he is or what time of the day it is. It's how many shots of Jaeger he's got in him.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
But Dave, you are the one of the best, dude. I'm so happy thank you for taking time to come on with us. We are going to put you in the Ian Happ fan club. We're going to do that when
the president.
We're looking forward to having you see you in spring training and have a few beers. We're giving away 400 beers at the tent, so hopefully you can drink 5 or 6 of those.
Absolutely. And then it's still one thing before you guys go too. There's something I want to talk about just before we get off here today. I know Club 400, the whole motto of Club 400 is Cubs fans helping Cubs fans. And I know you guys do a lot of charity work for, just individuals that they're going through tough times, medical conditions, things like that. You had asked before we started the podcast today what, me leaving the career that I was in. The career that I'm in now, guys, I am in the medical field. The company that I work for, I am the director of patient acquisition for a stem cell therapy company. So, any individual that, if they're dealing with rare autoimmune diseases, if there's a Cub fan out there that your back is so deteriorated and, doctors are telling you that you can't have surgery, you're in chronic pain. I mean, just all these different ailments that are out there. If doctors here in the United States tell you that they can't help, guys, there are other alternatives out there. I would be more than willing to speak to any Cubs fan and give them, obviously, the best help that we possibly can. But, we deal with a lot of situations where individuals, I hurt my back. The doctor says it's too far along. We can't do surgery. Stem cell therapy does help that. It helps diseases. It helps everything that are out there. So if anybody's ever interested in exploring alternative medicine options, I mean, there are other things that you can do besides put yourself through a surgical procedure. And I know the whole Cubs community is about helping other Cubs fans, and I would love to have conversations with anybody that would be interested in that.
So, David, spell your last name so people could find you on Facebook.
So it is David Truitt, Truitt. You can find me on Instagram. You can search me the same way. My Instagram name is Iowa Hawks Fan 06. Anytime that anybody would like to have a conversation, I'd be more than happy to just give people options of what else is out there. and how they could be helped medically, because that's the big reason I like Club 400. I love the fact that they're helping other fans and really doing things in the community. I know I don't live in the area, but if I could contribute to that in any way, I mean, that would be fantastic.
That sounds great.
That's awesome, Dave. So thanks for coming on. We'll see you at spring training. Let's hope you get a lot of autographs, and the Cubs have another successful year. Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it.
I'm actually retaring from the autographs this year. So.
Oh, you're retiring? Okay.
Yes, I have a child on the way, and
Congratulations.
my first one. Thank you. So I will be there as a fan. I will be there watching baseball, and I will be there drinking Club 400 beers, but probably not too much of the autographs this year, just to save myself a little bit of time commitment.
We'll get to hang out with you a little bit more. That's great. So
absolutely.
We'll see you soon in a couple of weeks, and you take care of yourself.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks.
Hey, Cub fans, I also wanted to let you know, as far as in the Chicagoland area, if you want to find about autograph signings, please check out Chicagoland Sports Appearance Connection. They have a website, csac.biz. You can find them on Facebook and Twitter. And what they do is they advertise signings in the Chicagoland area. And they notify you where they're at. They give you all the information. Tony Horner runs this website. He's a good guy, and if you want to know where your favorite, not just Cub, but sports celebrity is going to be signing, this is the website to be a part of. So, but you guys have hey, we're going to end off with this clip here that the Chicago Cubs production did last year regarding autographs. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Appreciate it.
My teammates, I think every teammate I had, I could read his autograph. Sano's autograph, like Ernie's autograph. All of the players in that era, when I played, you always could read their names.
Oh yeah, that's called Schwarber.
Is that K-12?
Is that Schwarber? Oh, okay.
What?
Yep, I don't know.
Is this the right side up?
Am I holding it the right way? Like, what is...
I'm going Albert Almora. No.
Yeah, this is Addy, definitely.
Daddy. Cool.
You see, what is this? That's just circles. On top of circles.
Bunch of loops. There's literally 3 circles. What are we doing here? Is this Tommy? I don't know. It's
Somebody likes to draw circles. Who is it?
I'm gonna start going around the diamond. It's not Willie. That's a C, but it is Willie? Yeah. What? Where is the W?
That's Willie. There's no W in that at all.
No, that's awesome. I need a number for that though, Willie. I need a number.
I always wanted to be unique, you know. I wanted to be original. A lot of teammates having trouble with my signing. Or mentioning who's this, who's that. I mean, that's mine. That's unique, you know. It's something that I brought into the baseball.
Guys now, they sign autograph a little different than we did. I guess I wanted the people to know who I were at the time. And my autograph hadn't changed over the years.
I remember being in Spanish class and, just jotting down my signature, full pages front and back, and Miss Ortiz would call my name. Hey, Addy, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm like, yo, this is gonna be worth a lot of money one day.
Getting to professional ball, having to sign a lot of autographs for a lot of people, it got short for a second. And Torrey Hunter actually was the one that convinced me to try and write my name out. And he just said, when someone finds a baseball or a card or whatever it is, you want to be able to know it's your name.
Jason Hayward has a really nice signature, but I really love the Ben Summers one.
The Z used to be more of a sharp, lightning bolt kind of Z, and now I throw a little, curl in there to kind of make it flow a little bit better.
I think when I was young, straight out of the draft, I made sure I made my perfect cursive with every letter. But now it's more like cutting lines and stuff, so I like it better.
I didn't like the way the I looked. Because the I, nobody really knows how to do the I in cursive. The cursive I is it's aggressive. So I had to change the first name, and when I got that right, that's when it all clicked.
I would say the best autograph on the team might be Lester.
Solid signature, 34, good number for it.
impressive.
Yeah, worst is gonna have to be Willie. I asked him to sign a ball for a kid who's a catcher. He gave it back to me. I was like, wait, did he think I was gonna sell it?
I think it's Rizzo. I'll go with Rizzo. I know it looks like a little baby signing a baseball or signing a bat.
Ooh, that's gonna have to go to Rizzo. Ugly signature.
I've signed a lot of strange things, but the toughest thing is when someone takes their shoe off and they're barefoot or something, and you're like holding up their shoe, like, you really want me to sign this right now?
I've signed a couple flip-flops before.
The small part of like glasses, I've signed Pokemon cards.
You get babies a lot, which is kind of weird, I feel like.
Body parts, I did that too. A lot of them I can't mention here.
Normally, whenever I'm around Cubs fans, I would just go to either, the smallest Cub fan or, a Cub fan that's just smiling ear to ear.
I like to do it after the game. That's my favorite time to sign. Win or loss, I really try to do it every game, and whether I had a good game or not, it helps me kind of turn the page quickly and just put the focus back on the community and the people that are letting us do what we're able to do out there.